Hi guys, today I'm going to talk about how I finally got my period back after over 3 years of not having it. It's kind of weird for me to be sitting down like this because I usually don't do videos like this, but this is a really important topic to me and I've been wanting to talk about it for a while, and I'm so happy to finally be sitting down and talking about this. Go grab yourself a snack, get yourself a matcha like me. There's so much to talk about. Give me a few minutes to get comfortable with this type of video, like talking to a camera for a long period of time. I really want to help people out there who are struggling with the same things, especially because when I first realized that I hadn't gotten my period in like a few months, I felt pretty alone with it because I didn't know anyone who had ever experienced that, and I didn't really see anyone talk about it online. So I thought it was this like rare, crazy thing. I thought like, oh my god, something is like wrong with me. And like something was wrong, but I didn't realize how common this actually was. When I started seeing people post about this online, it helped me so much to, one, feel less alone with it, to realize that this is actually something, unfortunately, something very common amongst women who exercise a lot or have periods of restrictive eating. But also, I actually learned a lot about what you can do in order to get your period back. And I would say the content that I saw online probably helped me more. I mean, obviously, there's so much information online that you kind of have to see what is actually like true, and I would always consult a medical professional, of course, but I do feel like what I saw online helped me more than going to the gynecologist, because let's be real, healthcare for women is very underdeveloped and a lot of gynecologists don't really know what they're doing. I'm sorry, because they are just going to give you the pill, and that is not a solution, but we'll get into that later. Anyway, so I just wanted to join in on this conversation and hopefully help someone out there who is currently struggling with this. So I kind of have some things written down on my laptop because there's so much I want to talk about and I don't want to forget anything, and also I kind of want to have a structure with it. Obviously I want to focus on the things that I did in order to get my period back, but I'm also gonna have to talk about how I even lost my period in the first place. So we'll start there. Let's see. So I think I first got my period when I was like 14, around 14, and then I had a more or less regular cycle until I was, I want to say 17. Yeah, I think the last period I got before losing it was in March of 2021. It's been a while. But yeah, so I was 17 at that time, but when I was like 16, I decided that I want to become a model. I think you can see where this is going. But yeah, I wanted to become a model. I was in touch with agencies already back then. And at that time, my parents didn't let me sign a contract with any agency that I was offered. Luckily, because maybe it would have been worse if I had. But still, I was in touch with them. Some of them just wanted to sign me. Some of them told me, we love you, like we'd love to sign you, but you're gonna have to lose like 1 or 2 centimeters off your hips. I didn't really think anything of it because I was like, okay, like at that time I didn't really exercise, like I didn't really work out, I didn't watch what I ate at all, like I just ate whatever I wanted, like burgers, pizza, whatever. So I thought, you know, this is like healthy, like I could change my lifestyle a little bit, eat healthier, like work out. I was like, yeah, I can do that, no problem. So I did. And it started out very innocently, but that kind of spiraled. I feel like it was a slow progression of just like innocently like trying to be healthier. But what the problem was, I think that I didn't really have any knowledge about nutrition and exercise really. So I just kind of followed what I saw online. Looking back, I'm realizing I had very small portions, which I didn't know. Like at that time, I was like, I think this is the normal portion. Like I just didn't know anything. And I saw what all the like models were doing online, and of course I wanted to be a model, so I was like, I want to live this model lifestyle. I'm gonna eat all these things, and I still eat these things. I still love eating healthy, but it was just, it started getting too extreme and I was eating too little of it. I ended up becoming a model when I was 18. I signed with my agency and that obviously didn't help. I mean, being praised for how thin you are and like going into your agency, your agent's like taking your measurements and being like, oh my god, your waist is so tiny, like do you eat? Like that's reinforcing. For someone with disordered eating tendencies, that is reinforcing. And yeah, being praised for that, or being told like if you want to work in Paris you're gonna have to lose another centimeter of your hips, like all these things obviously led to me watching what I ate even more, being more restrictive with it, counting calories even, over exercising, wanting to get thinner even though I was already severely underweight. It was kind of this restrictive cycle and not good for me personally. During this time I had phases of where I was like, I haven't had my period in so and so long, maybe I should try getting it back. And I did, but I never fully really committed to it, and I was still like in this modeling bubble and wanted to have the right measurements, go to Paris, go to Milan, do all the things. So I was never really able to like let go of that and just focus on recovering my period, which is why this whole thing kind of like got dragged out a bit. I also never got a diagnosis of like an eating disorder. My gynecologist did at one point. She told me like later when I had come back into the office after I got my period back, she was like, that was probably an eating disorder, right? And I was like, and I mean, I also, if you don't know, I study psychology. Little side note, side quest, side story. When I was sitting in the lecture about eating disorders, girl, like I didn't fully know the diagnostics criteria before. I mean, obviously I knew what an eating disorder was and I roughly knew like the criteria, but I never thought that I like actually fit the criteria of anorexia. I just thought like, yeah, I was being very restrictive and just, I mean, at that time I only thought I was being healthy. I was eating healthy, I was exercising, I was doing something good for my body. And then later I was like, okay, maybe it was a little bit too extreme. I actually wasn't doing something good for my body. But when I was sitting in that lecture and the professor was going through the criteria, I realized I fit all of that criteria. I never went to a therapist. I only went to my gynecologist. And on that note, probably if I had gone to therapy at that point, the whole process probably could have been sped up, because now this journey took me years, and maybe if I had gone to a therapist it would have been faster. I'm not sure. But also at that point I was in denial, like I didn't realize that it was like a psychological issue as well. So I wouldn't have wanted to go to therapy at all. Like I just know, because whenever my mom or my best friend would talk to me about this, I was like, no, like I'm fine, like I'm just eating healthy, like it's, yeah, that's genuinely what I thought. So I don't think I would have gone to therapy. Anyways, side quest over. Let's get back to the progression of my period loss. So I didn't have my period ever since March of 2021. That was also when I was like graduating, lots of stress with like exams. Then I ended up going to Milan, and that was probably the first time while I was there that I realized, okay, I've actually gotten really skinny. Before then I didn't really realize. Before then I always wanted to get even thinner because I was told my hips were still too big, and yeah, so I still like always wanted to lose those centimeters off my hips. But in Milan, I remember like looking in the mirror and being like, wow, I didn't realize I looked like that. And that was kind of a turning point for me, also because it was kind of, I was kind of like just emotional in Milan. I also had a great time. I'm very grateful for the experience, but I just was barely eating and walking a lot, and it was just not good for me mentally. So that was kind of a turning point for me. And then luckily I was in Milan until December. And then in January, I went to New York for the first time for my first semester abroad, which meant that I had a break from modeling for 4 months because I wasn't allowed to work there since I was on a student visa. This was good because it kind of gave me a break from this modeling bubble. I wasn't really in touch with my agency a lot, So I was just focusing on being in New York, living my dream. That was the goal all along. Like even with modeling, I also wanted to model. I loved modeling, but I also just, my goal was to get to New York. So I kind of had reached that goal, and then I was able to let go of the restrictive mindset a little bit, eat more, which I did, gain weight a little bit, but I was still in a very restrictive mindset of like having to burn it off. And like I would walk so much. I would go to my gym in the dorm, do like high intensity workouts to compensate for that I was eating more. So it was still an unhealthy mindset, and I didn't get my period back after I got back from New York. However, like I got back in May, and I think in October I decided to quit my contract with my agency, which was probably the best decision I have ever made. I am also very grateful for all of the experiences I've had with modeling and that they have given me. I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't trade it for the world, because I met some of my best friends through modeling. I got to travel. I got to like know what this lifestyle is like, and I am grateful for that. However, for me personally and my health, this was the best decision I could have made, because it allowed me to really get out of that mindset. So that was great. However, it still took a few months for me after I quit my contract to really be able to let go of it, because I was still thinking like about going to another agency. I was meeting with other agencies and just like not fully being able to let go of it, because I do really like modeling and it was a big dream of mine. So it was very hard for me to fully let go of that dream, because I'm someone who doesn't let go of their dreams that easily, but I had to, and I'm glad that I did. And then by January of 2024, I got my period. I was so happy, but then I kind of got back into that restrictive mindset and lost it again for a few months. Fast forward to the second time New York. So in New York, I finally got my period again. I think I got it in like September, but it was super light, like not a real period. And I was like, like what's going on? And it was kind of like that for 2 or 3 months, I think, before I got my first real period. And then ever since then, I've had a more or less regular cycle again. It's still not perfect. I'm going to talk about that at the end. But I think I have now, I'm actually on my period right now, and I believe this is my 4th consecutive period in a row. But most importantly, now let's get into what I actually did to get my period back. I'll grab a pen and some paper, take some notes. So the first and most obvious thing that most people also talk about is that obviously you are going to have to eat more and gain weight, most likely, because most people, not everyone, a lot of people who don't have periods are underweight and have a very low body fat percentage, and your body doesn't feel safe at this stage. So you are going to have to eat a lot more and accept that you are going to have to gain a little bit of weight. And I know how hard that is. I know it took me so long to accept it, but especially in the beginning, you're gonna have to eat so much more than what you think is even a lot. Because I remember talking to my best friend about this when I first wanted to get my period back, and I a lot of people always say you have to eat at least 2,500 calories a day. Obviously it depends on so many different things, but that's kind of a number that's being said a lot. And I remember talking to my best friend about it and being like, that is so much. Like, I cannot eat that much. That is insane. And now I'm like, it's not that much. You can easily eat that much. It's not that much. So yeah, it's gonna probably seem like a lot if you are coming out of a very restrictive eating pattern, but trust me, your body needs it, and the sooner you accept that and go with it, the sooner you're gonna be able to heal your hormones. Along with the eating, I would also say, this is kind of what everyone says, definitely eat carbs, eat your healthy fats, and eat enough of it, because I was eating carbs and healthy fats, but just not enough of it. And when I was in my restrictive eating situation, I barely ate bread. I would only eat gluten-free protein pasta. Wouldn't really eat rice a lot. If I would only eat black rice or something. Eat the white rice, eat the pasta, eat the bread, eat enough of it, make your body feel safe, you cannot only eat vegetables, and I love vegetables and I still eat a lot of vegetables, but especially when you're in the beginning stages of getting your period back, you really have to like give it everything it needs. That is definitely like a prerequisite, I would say, and like one of the most important things you have to do, but it's not everything. It's not guaranteed that that alone will give you your period back. For me personally, I have already gained the weight that I needed to gain way before I got my period back, but because I was still in this restrictive mindset of I have to walk this many steps every day, I have to work out, I can't eat this, I can't eat that, it took a long time even after having already gained weight, which leads me to the second point, which is that you have to get out of that restrictive mindset. The mental work is really the most important, and I didn't realize this, and it's also the hardest to do. So this kind of goes hand in hand with exercise. You need to physically and mentally take the stress off of your body. Physically, don't do any high intensity workouts. I stopped running, I stopped doing any high intensity workouts when I was getting my period back. I would only do Pilates and yoga. I also had to like get this number of like 10,000 steps out of my head and be okay with walking 5,000, 3,000, 0 steps a day. Like, you need rest days. Rest days are super, super important. You need days where you do not exercise at all. And walking a shit ton also counts as exercise. You can't be doing that every day. You need to give your body rest because it really, really needs it. Now that I've got my period back, I am becoming a little more lenient with it again, but I'm making sure that it's not getting too much. I'm really trying to listen to my body because I do not want to lose my period again. But now I will allow myself to run here and there or do a fasted workout. But if I feel like it, I'm really just listening to my body, and also cycle syncing, which I will get into later. But when you're trying to get it back, don't do any high intensity, don't do any fasted workouts. That's actually, I think, for me was a big game changer because I used to do that every day. Don't do that. It's a continuous process. You have to continue working on it. And I am definitely not perfect about this. I still catch myself thinking in ways that I did that I do not want to think in, if that makes sense. You will always actively have to work on your mindset around food and exercise if you have a history of disordered eating. It will get much easier. For me, it is much easier now, but I still get the occasional intrusive thought. You don't really have an impact on it, but you can have an impact on how you react to it. I would say that is the most important thing. Yeah, you have to realize how important this is for your health, for your body, for your future. You can't just push it to the side and forget about it. I did that for way too long, and it's not good. This impacts your bone health. You can get osteopenia, osteoporosis. This obviously impacts your fertility. And I definitely want to have children when I'm older. It can affect you so much even later on in life. I don't want to have osteoporosis when I'm a grandma. I am probably at a higher risk for that now. And if you are not having your period for an extended amount of time, you are risking that as well. I don't want to scare you, but I just want you to realize that this is really important and you should really make it a priority. Now, I have 3 more points that I want to touch on. First one is cycle syncing. Next one is just some additional tips I have, and lastly is where I'm at now. So let's start talking about cycle syncing. If you don't know what cycle syncing is, it's basically just where you sync your nutrition and your exercise with the phases of your cycle that you're in: menstrual, follicular, ovulatory, and luteal phase. I have this book called In the Flow, which I highly recommend. I even started reading it before I had my period back. Yeah, this is something that you should definitely do once you get your period back, and has really helped me just heal my hormones further, really make sure that I keep my period and have a healthy regular cycle. And this really goes hand in hand with also listening to your body and being intuitive. This is something I really, really do now, because I used to just push myself, and I had this like idea of you have to be disciplined, you have to be this, and so I would make myself go on a long run even if I didn't feel like it. I would work out every day even if I didn't feel like it, even if I didn't have energy. And now I really listen to my energy levels, how I'm feeling, what I need that day, if I want to do yoga, if I want to go on a run, if I don't want to exercise at all. So yeah, let's get into some additional tips or some other points that I wanted to touch on. You will notice how much happier and like freer and more yourself you feel once you have a cycle again, because if you don't have a menstrual cycle, that most likely means that your hormones are like in the basement. I remember I went to my gynecologist and they like took my blood work and looked at my hormone levels, and she told me that my hormone levels look like hormone levels of a woman who's going through menopause. Like, that's how little hormones I had in my body, and that's not healthy for a 18, 19, 20, 21 year old. You should have hormones in your body. And now that I have a regular cycle again, I really feel the difference that it makes. I feel more feminine, I feel I have more energy, and I'm so happy that I finally was able to regain this part of womanhood. I wish all of you watching this who are struggling with this the same, because honestly, like, when I didn't have my period, I almost kind of felt left out when people were talking about their periods, and it is such an important part of being a woman. So I think I also already touched on this, but if I was in the process of getting my period back now, I would probably choose a therapist over gynecologist. However, I was just in denial. I thought, I don't need to go to a therapist. I was like, that is not gonna help me. I need to go to a doctor. If I could talk to my past self, I would tell her, your gynecologist is not really gonna be able to do that much for you. Obviously, it depends on the gynecologist, but a lot of them are gonna prescribe you the pill, and the pill is not a solution. The pill just masks the symptoms. It's not going to help with your long-term bone health. It's not going to help with your long-term fertility, and it's not going to help with your energy levels. It's just like masking the problem and not addressing the root cause, and a therapist is going to help you address the root cause. So now let's get to the last point, which is kind of where I'm at now. Like I said, I feel so much better. It's so much nicer to not be at war with yourself and your body all the time. And I'm not saying I didn't have a great time. Like, those past 4 years were a great time in my life, and I'm super grateful for all the experiences I had, and I had great times with my friends. And I'm not saying like everything was bad, but now that I have my cycle back, I just realized that that was definitely missing. And as I also said already, obviously I'm not perfect and it's still a work in progress. Sometimes I look at old photos and I'm like, I wish I looked like that, but then I'm like, no, I don't, because I don't want to feel like that. I don't want to sacrifice my health. I don't want to sacrifice my fertility. I don't want to sacrifice my happiness. I don't want to have 0 hormones in my body. And that was the reality when I looked like that. So I do not want to look like that, but I am getting better and better at it. And I wish that for everyone who is currently in that process as well. And also, my cycle isn't perfect. It's not the perfect 28-day cycle, whatever. My last cycle, I believe, like the one before this one, was like 47 days. This one is 30 days, so it really like still fluctuates, and it's still kind of, my body's still kind of getting in the flow of things again. Also for you, if you're going through this as well and you got your period back and it takes like 46 days, don't panic. That's what I did when it was like 46 days. I was like, fuck, I lost it again, but it came. So yeah, be patient with your body, give it the time it needs to readjust, and don't be too hard on yourself, and you got this. I'm so proud of you for even watching this video. And yeah, if anyone has any questions at all, please comment them. I will do my best to answer them and help. Obviously, I'm not a medical professional, blah, 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 but I am studying psychology and went through the same thing, so. And you can also DM me on Instagram. And I think that's it. As I already said, I wish you all the best and a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you for watching this video.